Daniel Jones finished as the quarterback 15 in fantasy points per game in 2021. And remember, he was the quarterback 15 as a rookie back in 2019 as well. Jones had a couple top 12 weeks, and he mostly stayed in the quarterback 2 realm. 6 of his 11 weeks fell between quarterback 13 and quarterback 24. He had 3 weeks below quarterback 25, but one of those he left early. He's a low upside, math floor quarterback 2. And that's the perspective I want to see. But I don't want to be all guns a-blazing about Daniel Jones. I also don't want to be doom and gloom about Daniel Jones either. I think that he's a starting quarterback in the NFL, and he's above average when it comes to, above replacement level. So I don't think the Giants are going to be moving away from him anytime soon. Daniel Jones finished as the quarterback 11 in rushing yards, despite only playing a little less than 10 and a half games. 6 of those 10 games that he finished, Jones rushed for 25 or more yards. So the Konami code raises his floor. And Daniel Jones did improve in taking fewer sacks per dropback. In 2019, he took 1 every 13.2 dropbacks. In 2020, he took a sack every 11.5 dropbacks. But in 2021, he took a sack every 18.5 dropbacks. And in fact, Daniel Jones was the quarterback 1 with fewest points lost on sacks. If he was going to get tackled behind the line of scrimmage, it was not going to be by much. Daniel Jones was 5th among quarterbacks in play action completion rate at 68.9%. And his new head coach, Brian Daboll, was the offensive coordinator in Buffalo, where there was Josh Allen. And Josh Allen led the NFL in play action dropbacks per PFF. But Daniel Jones was not Josh Allen when it came to the execution of these play action dropbacks and big time throws. Allen completed 17 big-time throws, 7.6% of the time, where Jones completed only 2 big-time throws, 1.7% of the time. Now, even this low of a statistic was a departure from Jones' previous 2019 and 2020 seasons of 4.1 and 5% big-time throw completion percentage. And as much as Jones had struggled with turnovers early in his career, we've seen improvement. He's gotten better in this realm. In 2019, he averaged 2.4 fumbles and interceptions per game. In 2020, that number dropped to 1.42 fumbles and interceptions per game. In 2021, that dipped even lower, 1.27 fumbles and interceptions per game. Jones isn't Aaron Rodgers, right? Let's not get this confused when it comes to turnovers. But for reference, Mahomes had a fumble and interception per game of 1.29. So Daniel Jones turning the ball over about the same amount as Patrick Mahomes. Jones didn't throw a pick in 6 of his 10 completed games. But in 6 of his 7 interceptions came in games where he threw 37 or more passes. So the more he was playing catch up, the more likely he was going to make a mistake, and he lacked accuracy this year. Look, he lacked accuracy, but he also was impacted by missing receiving options. The Giants' offensive weapons missing by week. In week 1, Evan Engram and Kadarius Toney. Well, Toney played like 5% of snaps. Week 2, Evan Engram was out. Week 3, Daniel Jones finally had all of his weapons. Week 4, Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton. Week 5, Shepard, Barkley, and Slayton were out. Week 6, Galladay, Barkley, and Slayton. Week 7, Galladay, Barkley, and Toney. Week 8, Galladay, Barkley. Week 9, Shepard and Barkley. Week 11, Shepard. Week 12, Shepard and Toney. Now, distilling this, what does it mean? How did the missing weapons impact Daniel Jones? Well, if he was missing none of his weapons, or if he was just missing one of those weapons, and I'm not considering like Kyle Rudolph or Devontae Booker as a weapon, but in weeks with one or no weapons missing in this Giants offense, Daniel Jones averaged 18.6 fantasy points per game. Now, for reference, that's like season-long average quarterback 12, and on a weekly quarterback finish, he finishes quarterback 15, so an upper tier quarterback 2. weeks with 2 missing weapons, 17.9 fantasy points per game, and that's about quarterback 13 in season long. Average finish for Daniel Jones once again was quarterback 15. So if he was missing 0, 1, or 2 of his weapons throughout the season, he was an upper tier quarterback 2. But in weeks where he was missing 3 weapons, his fantasy points per game dropped to 9.8. And he was the season-long comp quarterback 47. His average weekly finish was quarterback 27. When it got bad, it got worse for Daniel Jones. Another talking point about Jones was pre-concussion and post-concussion. In week 5, Jones suffered a pretty nasty concussion in the Dallas game as he was rolling out to his left and trying to rush in for a score. Remember, week 5, Daniel Jones is missing Sterling Shepard, Saquon Barkley, and Darius Slayton. So he's missing 3 weapons in this game. He gets a concussion, and it doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's helmet to helmet. He comes down, though. But what's sickening is afterwards, Daniel Jones gets up, and he's just wobbling. He looks like he just can't even get his bearings. And you have to wonder, like, as a human being, how that type of hit can get in your head. Like, the next time you step into the pocket, you're worried that you're going to get hit like that again. And in week 6, only missing a half of a week of football. Like, Daniel Jones only missed 30 minutes of gameplay. In week 6, he came back against the Rams. Came back from the concussion. He took the shortest time to throw, 2.42 seconds per drop back, and that's per PFF. For reference, only Tom Brady and Big Ben Roethlisberger had season averages shorter than that. So he was getting the ball out quick because he didn't want to get hit. Jones' yards per attempt at 4.7 were season low, and he had 3 interceptions in that game. So not only did he have the concussion, and he's trying to get the ball out quickly, and he's like worried about, the reads, and he's probably worried about his health and not doing all the playbook that he would normally, like, in preparation. Like, I'm not saying that he's a slacker, but you have to know, like, as a human being, like, I would be taking care of myself as I'm going through the concussion protocol. I have to do these extra tests. And in week 6, he was missing Galladay, a downfield threat. He was missing Barkley, and he was missing Slayton, also a downfield threat. These are Slayton and Galladay, both players who average like 17 yards per reception. So he's missing downfield threats. He's just coming off a concussion. He has his worst game. He throws 3 picks. But aside from that, in Daniel Jones, take away the concussion game, take away the post-concussion game that he probably shouldn't have played in. Like, as a human being, he should not have played in this game. Take away that, those 2 games where he had a concussion and the post-concussion, in 9 games, Daniel Jones had 4 interceptions. So, really, turnovers were not a big deal for Daniel Jones. Much of this was overblown, and there's a little bit more hope than the doom and gloom that surrounded the Giants. And I mentioned about the accuracy. Only 4 quarterbacks had a worse accuracy rating in 2021 than Daniel Jones. And that was Justin Fields, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Davis Mills. And who had the worst accuracy rating in 2018 and 2019? Well, that was Josh Allen. Now, the Giants lost. It was a lost 2021 season. And they've replaced Joe Judge with Brian Daboll. Now, we're going to see how Brian Daboll is able to nurture and grow and surround weapons and coach up the players around Daniel Jones. But there's at least hope now with Josh Allen succeeding in Buffalo with raw talent, the rushing. The turnaround of Josh Allen may come to fruition in Daniel Jones. Will it? Likely, no. Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. And I think there's enough hope here to, throw out a 3rd round pick for Daniel Jones. I don't know, a back end set. Like, I would take Daniel Jones over any of the rookies in this upcoming draft. I think Jones, now he's a starter in Superflex leagues. He'll automatically start, and the Giants have come out, the new GM of the Giants, the former assistant GM of the Buffalo Bills, has come out and said that they want to form the Buffalo offense, or the Buffalo offense, just how they did in Buffalo. They want to form the offense around Daniel Jones, just as how the Buffalo offense did for Josh Allen. So we'll see. Daniel Jones is still a starter in my book. He's shown pretty consistently, as long as he has weapons on the field, he is a upper tier quarterback too. Not really a lot of upside, but we'll see whether the Giants can do what they say they're going to do, and what kind of splashes they're going to be making in this offseason, because this is now year 4 for Daniel Jones. The jury's still out on whether he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's that good, but he may be good enough to just hold on to a starting job for a while. So throw out a lowball offer for Daniel Jones, although maybe that window is gone now that now that Brian Daboll is the head coach for the New York Giants.